If for anybody that migrates, if you're migrating because you're looking for a change, if you want to change, change. Don't bring your shit to another place. It does, if you want to learn and educate and learn, go and do that. If you go to Asia, Europe, anywhere, learn from those people. Learn the good and the bad. Educate yourself and become a better person. Don't make a big step just not to improve and get better.
When we talk about immigrants and numbers, we stop seeing people. But when we put faces to the stories, we can finally feel.
Hey, Claudio, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you, Paul?
Good. Thank you for taking the time to do this interview.
No, man, thank you for interviewing me, man. I need to, I'm not good at talking to the camera myself, so I was thinking who can do that, and I know you're good at it, so I'm thinking maybe he will give me the opportunity to interview me, so that's good.
Cool, man. So from what I take it, you're in New Orleans?
I'm in Lafayette, not in New Orleans.
Lafayette.
I live in Louisiana, but I'm not in New Orleans. Yeah, that's 2 hours. I'm 2 hours and a half south of New Orleans.
Okay, all right.
Which is called Cajun land.
Cajun land.
Yes.
It sounds tasty.
They have good food here, man.
Yeah, it sounds like it's got a lot of flavor.
Oh yeah, that's one thing about Lafayette. Yeah.
I see you drinking mate there, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where do you get your mate?
Man, there's some natural stores. We call them natural store because they sell all natural organic food. And they have this sherba package, which is a green color, like a shiny green color, and then it's from Argentina. I never seen it, but they sell it, and as a lot of Americans that are into natural stuff, they drink it in different ways, and
cool.
That's why I get it from. I can also order it online from Argentina. So,
all right, cool. How long have you been there? How long have you been living in Lafayette?
In Lafayette, I have I'm going on 8 years. 8 years now.
8 years. And where'd you live before that?
I actually live in Utah.
In Utah?
Yeah.
With the Mormons?
Yeah. I used to be a Mormon.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right. Excellent. And and why the change from Utah to
work, man? It was work. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I spent 13 years of my life in Utah. Prior to that, I used to live in Florida. And I spent about 4 months in California before I moved to Lafayette. That's something I was trying to do. But so work brought me to Lafayette. I work for a public company that provide care to people with respiratory issues, disease. And I work in technology. That's what I do for a living.
All right. How long, in all, how long have you been in the U.S.?
I think about 31, 32 years.
Oh,
now.
Wow. Oh, wow. It's a while.
Yes.
That's a while. And you went to Florida. Was your first stop?
That was my first step in the U.S. It was Florida. And I was, I think I was a kid. I was in my early 20s, for 20, 21 years old.
Oh, okay. Just like me coming here.
Yeah. We have pretty similar stories, just the opposite way. Yeah.
All right. Okay, cool. And what made you decide to leave Argentina and go to the U.S.?
Back in those days, I was too young to make a decision like that, young and naive. So my dad was the one that made that decision. He left. We were, I don't know if you're familiar with the term, I think it's a kidnap express, or or they keep you hostage for a short time. So we were a middle class family in Argentina, and we were my dad was coming from the airport, and three cars stopped him in the middle of the road, uh, uh, took him and my mom to our home, and we were basically kept hostage for hours, you know, 5 6
In the
hours
U.S.?
in Argentina.
Oh, in Argentina. Oh, okay.
So
It was during the
this was the driving factor why we left Argentina.
okay
I
during the
think that
dictatorship.
was your question. Yeah. So well,
Okay.
they were criminals. Later on we find out they were police officers and other thugs. But so that kind of pushed my dad to live. And we had other family things that went public, not from our family, but from my dad's side,
Mhm.
and that's the reason why all the social media stuff that was happening at the time, where my dad's side of the family was being public a lot, and there was news reporters, and all this stuff.
Hmm.
And then, but prior to that, the uh, being hostage for a few hours, I don't wish that on anyone, where people have you at gunpoint, like in your own bathroom, threatening
Jesus.
your life, and cleaning up your house, taking everything. It's not fun. So those are the two things, and the government at the time, it was not great.
Hmm.
Um, so my dad said, we're leaving.
Yeah.
He got money, took the money, but we bought a business in the U.S. He did,
Uh-huh.
and then he brought me to help him with the business.
Ah,
And
he was. You got lucky. You were able to get out of Argentina. What year was this? Like the 70s?
this was in the um
No,
in the 90s.
in the 90s, huh?
Yes, early 90s. My dad left in the early 90s, and then when he was all settled,
Oh.
I moved. It was in 94, 95.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
During the World Cup, during the 1994 World Cup
Yes,
in the
it
U.S.
was after the World Cup.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, it was in
Yeah.
95, 95. Yes.
I see you got your Argentina shirt on. Your
Yeah.
Argentina jersey. Yeah, I got my Argentina hat.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
you're in Argentina, I'm in the US, but I'm still Argentinian, right? And
Yeah, for
Argentina,
sure.
they love the United States.
Yeah.
I genuinely love this country.
Yeah, and did you watch the game last night?
Yeah, man. There's a few Argentinians in Lafayette, not that many, but there's one guy that has an empanada store, restaurant, and he invited us to go watch the game after hours, and we watch it over there. So we
Yeah.
got some Fernet, picada, what is it called? Charcuterie board, something like that.
It's,
That's how that's how the American call it. What we call picada. It's
oh, okay.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
basically,
yeah.
A board with different meats and cheeses and
Yeah,
like
sure. Different lunch
yeah,
meats. Yeah, yeah, for
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
we had a
yeah,
picada here too. We had some
right,
longaniza, some salami, cheese,
right,
ham. Yeah, it's pretty
right,
cool. It's
mm-hmm,
pretty good. It's
yeah.
nice. So you keep your even though you've been there so long, you keep your Argentine traditions alive.
Well, I think it's important to maintain your identity.
Sure.
I believe as an immigrant that when you migrate to a new country, and I didn't know this at the beginning. I just learned it over the years that first of all, as an Argentina, you don't know where you fit, because we already, just by being Argentina, we have an identity problem already. At
Huh.
least it's how I see it. But you don't know until you leave your country. Because when you leave Argentina, you don't know where you fit. Like in
Yeah.
Argentina, you never see yourself as a Latin person or anything. You're just an Argentinian. But when you leave your country, we also have a very European. At least we used to. Things change tremendously in the last 20 years in
Sure.
Argentina. But when I left Argentina in the 90s, we're still a very European, or I would say oriented culture. And then
Right.
when I come to the U.S., I didn't know what I was.
Yeah.
I didn't see myself as a European. I didn't see myself as a Latin person. I don't know why. And when you go to any paperwork you do here, any paperwork you do with the government, or even you apply for a job, you have to identify your ethnicity. Like, what are you? Are
Yeah. Yeah.
you, are you black? You white? What are you? And nobody ever asked me that question. So I didn't know what I was. You
Yeah.
know,
Sure.
it's crazy, but I didn't know. Other people would probably that were more familiar or used to this kind of stuff will say, "Oh, this guy is brown or is white, whatever." I just didn't know what I was. So I was a little bit lost at the beginning, um, to understand what I was.
Hmm.
So I knew I was an American, like a United States American, and then but I also did not feel like I was part of the Latin American culture.
Yeah.
Even we are. It's not I'm denying that because
Yeah.
we speak Spanish, but it's just something that we grew up with a lot of European music, American music. Our own Argentinian music was, at back then it was a lot of national rock and roll and that kind of stuff. So I didn't fit with salsa or cumbia related cultures, that kind of stuff. And
Sure.
as you know, I don't know if you remember this, but right when you move into Argentina, cumbia and salsa, that was not a music that people listen to. It was
Yeah.
just a small group of people.
Sure. It was rock and roll.
Right,
Yeah, rock and roll, or maybe I don't know. Yeah, you had folklore, tango.
right,
Yeah, and
right,
then after the cumbia, and now all this other stuff. I don't know, salsa and trap.
right.
It's
I grew
horrible.
up listening to AC. I mean, I listened when I was 13. I was listening to AC/DC.
The Beatles.
There was punk culture also in
Yeah,
Argentina.
yeah.
Um, I listened to Pink Floyd. Paul McCartney and
Sure, sure, sure.
Duran Duran. U2. I mean, so
Yeah.
many other
Rolling Stones.
Rolling Stone. Yeah, and so it's crazy that when I come to the U.S., I love that music, but immediately I knew that I was not part of it, like I thought
Yeah.
I was.
Did you learn
So it was
English? Did you learn English there in the U.S.
yes,
or did you?
yes. I went to a English school in where I grew up
Uh-huh.
in Argentina, but the English I learned there was first of all European English, not
Sure.
from the Americas.
Yeah.
Um, but I never really care about it because I
Yeah.
never need it. So
Yeah.
when I moved here, I learned American English, and my dad told me, he's like, something that he told me first time I arrived to the U.S. The first few months in the U.S. He told me like, son, let me teach you something. Um, you never shit on the plate that you eat.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah. Yeah.
even dogs do that.
Yeah.
So to me, immediately I knew from the first time I put a step in the United States, I put a foot in the United States, I needed to adapt, learn the culture, and respect. That
Hmm.
was the first thing I learned, and that pushed me and drive me to learn the language. I don't speak perfect. You speak way better than I do, but it's I can communicate.
Yeah.
I have a
That's
lot
the
of
important.
friends over
Sure.
here.
Yeah. That's the important thing.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
the important thing. Was it easy to make friends there, or was it in the U.S.
Initially,
American
initially
friends?
no.
Americans or no?
Right. Initially wasn't easy because there's a process to adapt to the place, learning the culture. People don't understand you. I was trying to speak, but until you really learn the language and you can properly communicate, it's really hard to make friends. Like you can't communicate with people, So there's two options. You either don't learn the language and just stick to only people you can communicate with, which is only the people that speak Spanish, or you learn the language and you give yourself an opportunity to learn the culture and other people. And once you learn the language, you not only can speak to Americans, Native Americans, and I mean, when I mean Native Americans, I'm not talking about indigenous or indigenous descendant. I mean people that were born in the U.S., white, black, whatever. And you can talk to, even people from Europe or Asia that live here that speak the language. There are other immigrants from other countries. You get to know a lot of people, different cultures, different beliefs.
Yeah, I interview on my podcast, Gringos in Buenos Aires. I interview a lot of Americans, expats, immigrants, living in Buenos Aires, and the one thing they mention first is how friendly Argentines are. I'm not saying in terms of making friends, but I'm in terms of friendliness and helpfulness. They'll help you. They'll be friends with you. Sometimes when I stand in line at a shop, for example, I'm standing in line, I can start a conversation with anybody.
Right.
And you start talking to these people and you feel like you've known them your whole life. Then you say goodbye and you never see them again.
Right.
Do you consider that Americans are as friendly as that?
Americans
in the U.S.?
We're different in that perspective, but they are, they're friendly people. They're friendly people and very respectful too.
Yeah.
Yes, I have great friends.
Yeah.
Great friends, but so Americans, you have to understand the culture to understand the friendship, right? It doesn't mean they're better or worse. It's just that's how they are. And and to be honest with you, with all the people that I met in the United States from other cultures, I don't know anybody that is as friendly as Argentinians. And I'm not saying that we are more friends, like we are more friends in the sense that we are, how can I explain this? Nicer or better, I guess. Which is maybe more outgoing. We talk more. We make the first step maybe to friendship. Americans can build that deep friendship with you too, but it takes longer. They're more reserved. They're not. If they go to your house, they might spend 2 hours and then they go home. Argentinians, they go to your house, they might stay 6-7 hours or longer. Americans will not go to your house without asking you first. And Argentina would just go to your house without even asking you. They knock on the door. I don't think one is better than the other one, right? I think it's just different. But when you learn the language, you also find comfort with the way they are. Like I am. Yeah.
Today is the 4th of July. And
Yes.
I'm sure that in the U.S. there's a lot of celebration, a lot of barbecues and picnics, and a lot of festivities and fireworks. Do you, after 30 years of living there, do you feel yourself as an American? Do you feel American? Do you feel that you're from the U.S.? Do you share that patriotism? Oh, today's the 4th of July, I have to celebrate?
Yes.
Or it's just like no big deal?
No, it is a big deal. First of all, I spent more than half of my life here. I live for the July as someone that adopted their culture and learned how to love this country. And I tell you why, because I came here as a young kid. I built my first family because I'm divorced. I got remarried. So with my first marriage, I had 3 kids. I had grandkids that were born here.
Wow, you got grandkids.
And then I have my second relationship. I have a child that is 5 years old, which is also born here. I have a privileged life, um, and I had great friends. And because
Mm-hmm.
all that I developed and built here, I love this country. You know,
Yeah.
how could I not, right? What
Mm-hmm.
you know is impossible not to be emotionally attached. If
Sure.
you love your friends, they're Americans, and what they done for you and how they help you in their American way,
Uh-huh.
not Argentina way, but their way, and it's also good. You just
Yeah.
gotta understand that it never, nothing is the same, but it's still good, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, I get the chills when I hear the national anthem. I get the when I see the flag wave, the same thing, the waving the flag, or when you see the fireworks, I get tears.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah.
yes, and that doesn't make me less of an Argentinian. I know where I come from,
Yeah.
and I love Argentina. I love where I come from. I think I am who I am, and I respect and love United States because I learned that firsthand in Argentina.
Yeah.
Argentina is a very patriot too, and
Sure.
I
Yeah,
think
but
because
it's the patriotism in Argentina is only visible when the national team plays.
right,
I'm talking. We had Flag Day on June 20th. It was Flag Day, Dia la Bandera. I didn't
right,
see it. I saw maybe one flag on the street.
right,
25 de Mayo, another national holiday, big, you know, no flags.
right,
Now we have the 9th of July, 9 de Julio. I don't know. You don't see the patriotism.
right,
You feel it in your home, but you don't feel it in the community.
right,
Everybody will have locro, for example. So it's
right,
more internal than it is external. In the U.S., for example, you'll see it everywhere. They'll flaunt it. But here you don't
right,
see that. You feel it, but you don't see it. You know,
right,
there's no fireworks here on 9th of July.
right,
Maybe there's a parade somewhere. Maybe in the small towns. In the small towns, it's a little bit more present, the
right,
national holidays. But since Buenos Aires mainly it's a melting pot of communities,
right,
European communities, basically.
right,
But the only time you'll see that patriotism is when the national team plays. That's when everybody is one country,
right.
one flag.
I think I have an explanation of why that happened because I live in both places and so you did, so maybe you agree with me or not, but um I think United States is a country of marketing.
Mm,
They market everything, right? If
yeah,
you think about it, as a kid, I grew up with American movies, American culture, unconsciously. But I realized when I got older that was the reality of my childhood. I grew up
yeah,
with the same TV shows that kids grew up in the U.S.
yeah,
I think if you think of the story of the United States, they always promoted freedom, right? And they always been at war with some country,
yeah,
and I'm not criticizing that whether it's right. I don't want to get into politics, but I think you know the United States government did a pretty good job on promoting that. The
yeah,
people that died, they actually really sacrificed for this country for what the government called freedom, right?
yeah, yeah,
And to be able to, people that died should be able to have the the lifestyle that people have in the United States, to be able to be the top country in the world.
yeah,
So those are facts and they're real things that the United States accomplished. And I think that sacrifice was promoted through marketing that makes people, wave the flag and celebrate the way they celebrate.
sure.
For Argentinian, we 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 probably had one war I don't know since we became independent.
Since the modern era, yeah.
Right. So, and the only time you can promote being a patriot is when you play some kind of sport outside of out of Argentina. So I think our wars are soccer, rugby, right, tennis, and that's when we promote patriotism, and that's when we celebrate.
Yeah,
but you can really see, right? You can really see Argentinians being patriot when they leave Argentina. They don't show it in Argentina, but when they're out of Argentina is when you see it, and they're very proud for where they come from and who they are.
I remember I went to I grew up in the States, and I did all my studies. I went to grade school, and I remember in high school every morning you would look at the flag and you pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, yada yada yada, every morning.
Right.
And you didn't pray. You didn't. I went to Catholic schools. You didn't pray the Our Father, but you did pledge allegiance to the flag every morning, and that kind of sets the tone.
Yes.
For sets the tone. It's
and at least when I was growing up in Argentina, it was the same. We had to pay respect to the flag and to the national anthem every morning when I was a kid.
That
was the thing.
Though.
Yes, and if you they would pick the best students of that week or the month, you raise the flag. So every day we raise and put down the flag, and the best kid of the day or whatever, they will have that privilege, and they get to do that.
Yeah.
And I grew up like that, with that kind of mentality. But I don't know if they're still doing that at school or not these days. But that's how I was raised. But like I said, we don't have the marketing that the United States have. But if you think about it, how many of us, at least me, living as an Argentina, wear a jersey or a shirt, they had an American flag in it?
Yeah.
Why would I wear something an American flag if I live in Argentina? But unconsciously, I didn't know what I was doing. It was all through marketing, the movies, everything I watched. So I felt cool by wearing a shirt. They had an American flag in it. So the way they promoted the culture, it even left the United States, and it happened in other countries too, where people watch Cowboys and Indians, and grew up watching Daniel Boone and the Three Stooges, and all the Disney animations and Hanna-Barbera animations and all this stuff. And so people which is unconsciously being a little bit American in their own country, not knowing why. And I think that's a great marketing strategy, man. It's amazing.
Yeah. Getting back to football, soccer, when you talk about the sport, do you say soccer or football?
I say soccer because, people don't understand here. If you say football, it has a different meaning to them.
Yeah.
So I say soccer. Yeah.
I had on my podcast, I asked the guy, so do you watch soccer? And the guy said, well, I don't know much about soccer. And I got so much hate because the guy said soccer, and everybody comments football. They take that so personally, and they don't understand. But it's that it's just it's just football is football in the United States, and soccer is soccer. And it's just it's a cultural thing. It's no offense to anybody,
right?
You know. And I think they call it soccer also in Australia, because they have I think they have football as another sport.
I don't know.
Sure,
I know
though.
Australia is big in rugby. I don't know if they play football. I don't know how much they play football over there, but I know rugby is big over there.
Yeah. And so hypothetically, let's imagine the United States and Argentina in the final of the World Cup. Who are you rooting for?
That's a great question, man. I think I have to stay neutral.
Oh yeah,
I'd be happy if United States wins or if Argentina wins. Right. This
yeah,
is one where um, if it was a dead or a life situation
yeah.
where I had to choose one, I would choose the United States.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yes, and not
Okay.
because if I had to be in a situation where I had to choose, I have no option but to choose one. But I live here, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you were born in the United States. You live in Argentina, and if you would choose the United States over Argentina, um, that probably would not, at least in my eye, would not be a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Because your life is there,
Yeah. I would
right?
definitely root for Argentina.
Right, right,
Yeah, I mean,
and
because it's just I live here, even
right,
though a part of me would like to see that happen, just
right,
so that maybe Argentines are get off their ego,
right,
like saying we're the best in the world. A part of me, yeah,
right,
but I would have to root for Argentina.
right.
I mean,
I,
when in the Olympics, when was the Olympics? When the Argentina played the United States with Ginobili in the Olympics, and I think Argentina won. If
yes,
my memory,
yeah,
I was rooting for Argentina.
right,
I wanted Argentina to win the basketball championship.
right,
Because the United States ego was so big in basketball
right,
that they didn't deserve to lose, but I think Argentina deserved to win.
right,
Yeah. At the end of the
right.
day, it's just a game, and may the
It's
better
just a
team
game.
win.
It's just a game, but it's good to understand where your heart is, right? I think um, it would be stupid for me to not to choose the United States in a if there was no other way. Like someone want me to choose someone,
Yeah.
you know, I if I go back to my dad advice when I first time I came to the United States is that you don't shit on the plate that you eat.
Yeah.
Not even dogs do that. And
Yeah.
that was one of the great advice from my dad, and my dad was never a migrant. That was the first time he migrated, and he taught me that.
Sure.
And like my life is here. I have grandkids. My kids were born here. Why would I not?
Sure.
Would it be a very difficult decision? Yes. Would it be painful? Yes. But if someone said you gotta choose one, you had no option but to choose one, I would choose the United States.
Hmm. All right.
Painfully, but I would do
Uh-huh.
that.
Sure.
Luckily, it's just a sport, and it doesn't have to be that extreme. But
Sure.
I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
try to explain that I have more. I think the way I'm saying things is like my life is here.
Yeah.
My life is here.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you ever see yourself moving back to Argentina, or going? You ever come here on vacation?
I think about it. I think about it because I don't want to work until I'm 70 years old. I want to
Yeah.
retire young,
Yeah.
and retirement would be hard in the U.S. With what I have right now. So it
Yeah.
will, I think you need at least $3 million to retire in the U.S. Right?
Wow.
As I don't want to work anymore. You need at least $3 million.
Damn, that's a lot of money.
Right? And I don't, you know, think about health insurance. Think about all this stuff. Right? If you want to retire when you're 50, if you retire at 70, you collect your Social Security. So that's or your retirement. But yeah, if I want to retire at 50, I need about that much money. And unfortunately, um, I'm not there at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I'm,
Sure.
you know, miles, millions of miles away from that. So,
Yeah.
but I could see myself retiring with a lot less money in Argentina or other countries in the world. So,
There are a lot of Americans retiring in Buenos Aires now.
yes, yes,
There are so many, and one of the reasons why they retire here is because they can live a better quality of life. It's cheaper.
Right.
They have their health care plan,
Right.
that they can't use in the United States, but they can use anywhere in the world.
Right.
And there are so many Americans retiring here
Right.
and
Look.
living a really good life in Recoleta
Right.
and Palermo, and
Right.
they live a really, really comfortable life.
Well, let's think about this. So I'm 54 years old. Let's say I want to retire in 2 years, in the next 2 years, and let's say I have maybe half a million dollar or $1 million for retirement. I could do that in Argentina or in some other European countries. I wouldn't be able to do it here. Now think about that money will give me enough time until I can collect my Social Security number, my
Sure.
Social Security money, and possibly my 401k.
Yeah.
So by the time when I have my Social Security money and my 401k, now I don't have to worry about it anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that gap between you're 54 and you're 63 or 64, whatever you can get away with that with $500,000 to $1 million.
Oh, with
And
that
most
kind of
people,
money, you can buy yourself 2 apartments, even a
yeah,
parking spot, and
yes,
you can live off of rent and maybe
yes,
open up a little kiosco
right.
or a
And
newsstand,
that's what Americans are doing. Why
a
would
flower
you
shop.
want to wait? You got $3 million or $5 million to retire in the U.S. when you got $500,000 at 54. You can retire somewhere,
Yeah.
and then you might run out of money by the time you get 63. But now you have your Social Security and your 401k.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good plan.
Right.
Yeah, 70 is just too old, man. You figure what? You work your whole life and then let's say you live a healthy life and you live till you're like 80, 85,
Right.
90, but by the time you're 90, you're just a fossil. I
Right.
mean, unless you exercise and and you're like Mick Jagger, you have, people cooking for you, cleaning for you, but it's not the
Right.
case for normal people.
Right.
So it doesn't give you a lot of time to really enjoy life when you spent most of your life working.
Yeah. And for an American, it's not that hard to reach that. If you have a house that is paid off, or almost paid off, or you have some leverage on your house, and
Yeah,
you sell your home, you sell your vehicles, you have some investment that you made, you come out with $500,000 or more.
yeah.
And so a lot of Americans are like, why would I work until I'm 70?
Well,
A lot of men die in their 50s.
yeah,
I have friends
yeah,
they're my age that I went to school with. They're dead.
yeah, yeah. Me
So
too. Most of my
what?
friends are dead.
Right? Why would I wait that long? So it's not impossible. So, but you gotta be willing to leave, be an expat in some other country, adapt to a new
Yeah,
thing. But it's just cultural adaptation and language. You don't have to work. You're not going to another country to work. Um,
yeah,
so this is why you see a lot of Americans doing this. It's a no-brainer.
yeah. There are a lot of young people too leaving. A lot of young kids coming here.
They work remotely. They work remotely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the digital nomad community is huge here.
Right. Let's say you made 60K a year working remotely, which is not a big salary in the United States. It's not a lot of money in the United States.
But for a young single guy, it is.
Yeah, especially if you live abroad. Like if you are going to another country, you're working remotely. You don't have, you have free healthcare, right? You don't have to worry about paying a huge rent. You can, $500, $300 in some other country. You
Yeah.
get a good apartment. Even
Oh, 500
$800 get you a
bucks.
good apartment. Rents here,
Yeah.
if you want to get something good here, you're talking about 2K per month,
Yeah.
$1,500, $2,000 a month for something good.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive. Yeah. Here with 500 bucks, you can get yourself a nice apartment in a nice part of town.
You got great public transportation all over the world.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to have a car. So yeah, young kids, they go and making maybe $2,000, $3,000 a month, and with that money, they had a great time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I know. It's you interview a lot of people around the world. A lot of immigrants that most of them from the U.S. I
Mm-hmm.
follow your podcast, and what a I mean, they do exactly what you say. You know, they choose to live outside of the United States for whatever reason, for a better quality of life, or because it's not so much a standard of living, it's just, the quality of life. Uh, what is one thing they all have in common? Do they feel like do they feel like immigrants? Do they, what is one thing that they all have in common, a common thing that they share, these people that you interview?
I think one thing I noticed with immigrants, no matter what country they come from, they're always looking for more, right? They're looking for some kind of answer for something, whatever they're looking for. If you don't question your situation and how you live and how you are, you're never gonna see or learn more than the the block that you live in, within
Mm-hmm.
1 block or 2 blocks of where your house is. Some people ride their bicycle to work, like in Argentina, or they drive to work, like in the United States, to the same job for 20 years, and that's all they do, back
Mm.
and forth. It's nothing else. But what I notice in immigrants, they some of them leave because they are in a tough situation and they make the sacrifice to change. Some of them have a good life, but they question what else is out there,
Mm.
right? So the common denominator between them is that they're always looking for something. They're looking for new answers. They question, or or they want to see more. They never, um, these are not people that will stay in one place, not always doing the same thing. So
Sure.
I mean, I'm in the U.S. I've been my life here, and I'm still doing other stuff, thinking about other countries, going to other places. Um, and
Do you travel much?
yes, I had
Yeah.
trouble. Europe, in the
Oh,
Americas.
okay. Oh,
hmm
okay. Good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you travel around in the United States now, or you just?
Mainly outside of the United States, but I did travel in the United States a lot.
Hmm?
So I went to places that I have been in the United States. Um, California, Kansas, Nevada, Utah, Mississippi, Louisiana, um, then
You've been in New York,
Wyoming.
New York,
Wyoming. No,
Chicago,
never been in New York. At the airport, yes. Wyoming,
uh,
Idaho, um,
Idaho.
Florida, Texas,
Uh,
Arizona, Colorado. Um, where's the state where Yellowstone is?
Yellowstone. That's in. That's not Colorado. It's man,
I get it.
yeah,
Montana, Montana,
Montana, Montana.
Montana. Um.
That's a beautiful country in
Oh
the
yeah,
United
man.
States.
West Virginia,
Uh,
Tennessee.
it's a
Man,
beautiful country.
oh yeah, man. I went to I yeah. I haven't been in all the places that I wanted to go, but yes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
there's one more. There's one more I can remember right now, but
I have a question. Some of the things I different. For example, I noticed that when someone says I'm American, uh, everyone in the rest of the world takes that personally. No, you're not American. I hear that all the time from Argentines. Oh yeah, you're American? I'm American too, because I'm from Argentina. I'm from South America.
right.
But I always tell them, I say, yeah, but your name, Argentina, doesn't have Argentina of America.
Right.
And the United States has the name, the United States of America, so that makes you
Right.
American. Do you ever hear that?
Yeah, I hear that a lot, but I think I always say people like to talk a lot, but they don't listen.
Yeah.
And when you listen, you get to understand why American call themselves American, like the United States of America. So
Sure.
if you need to pick one of the words on their name, I would pick America. It's why not?
Yeah.
In English, in the English language, you cannot call yourself the United States. Oh, I am USA. You can say I am USA. It doesn't rhyme good. But when you call yourself American, it sounds good. It sounds better.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why do I call myself Argentina? Because my country is called Argentina. Why we
Sure.
call it right? So now, if you want to do that in another language, I don't know other language, but in Spanish, you can say Estados Unidos. He's from
Estadounidense.
Estados Unidos or estadounidense. So because it's a different language, you can call someone like that. But they don't speak
Yeah.
Spanish, they speak English. So for you, it sounds good. For them, it doesn't sound right. So I think these are nonsense stuff that
Yeah,
people like to waste time, like
and complain about.
Yes, yeah, we're all
Sometimes some people,
Americans, right? We're all
yeah,
Americans because we are in the American continent.
yeah,
But Americans can call themselves Americans. But yeah, man, like I was saying before, like I don't know, I don't know what people care about this stuff, but I think anybody can call themselves whatever they want.
sure.
Who
Yeah,
cares?
who cares? And
Yeah,
tell me,
nobody cares, man.
you live near the Gulf of America, or do you live near the Gulf of Mexico?
I think, look, man, whatever I would call it whatever they want to name it.
Yeah,
To me, those things don't matter.
yeah,
Those things are just distraction of reality of what really is going on in the world. Like, who cares?
who cares?
You
Yeah,
know, or if you want to call it the Gulf of America, fine. I think when you ignore those things, people don't have power over it. They have no power.
yeah,
But people want to give importance to things that don't really matter.
yeah.
Don't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. At the end of the
No,
day, it doesn't make a
it
difference.
matters when you give them. Yeah, when you give them unnecessary attention,
Yeah,
it's when it matters, and people become stronger, and that's why they use that,
yeah,
because that's what they want.
yeah,
I mean, I can call it if I'm in Mexico, we call it the Gulf of Mexico. If I'm in our United States, we call it the Gulf of the United States, so nobody gets offended. Like,
yeah, yeah.
man, I don't know if there's a way to translate this, but in Argentina, my dad always taught me, like, there's a difference between I don't know if it's hard to explain it, but um, maybe becoming old and then becoming a anciano. I don't know how to translate that.
Yeah, super old. No, you can get
Right.
old. You can become old.
So the
Old
difference,
age.
right? So the difference between old and an anciano, o sea, would be viejo and anciano, older and maybe a senior. I don't know. An anciano, what we call in Argentina, is different than an older person. An anciano is someone that is have knowledge,
Sure.
learn about life, right? An older person is just someone that is grumpy
Yeah.
and complains about everything, doesn't understand a damn thing about life.
Yeah.
An anciano is someone that just have a overview of the life and chills, is calm,
Yeah.
right? He teach you, you'll learn from that person. So in Argentina, they say become an anciano, not an old grumpy man.
Sure.
So I don't know if there's translation for an anciano in English, right? But that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I think at 54, that's what I'm looking for. I don't want to be that grumpy old man that's talking about what we're going to call they go from Mexico, they go from America. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, I want to be an anciano. I want to be a that guy, you know, or whatever it's called. How they call it, the again, the Asian culture. They have a name also for someone that gets very old.
Yeah, I'm not sure. All right, I want to wrap this up just by asking you one question. Given your experience and given your experience and given the current state of affairs in the United States, what advice would you give to someone from Argentina, from any part of the world, basically? What advice would you give them if they're thinking about migrating to the U.S.?
I think if for anybody that migrates, if you're migrating because you're looking for a change, if you want to change, change. Don't bring your shit to another place. If you want to learn and educate and learn, go and do that. If you go to Asia, Europe, anywhere, learn from those people. Learn the good and the bad. Educate yourself and become a better person. Don't make a big step just not to improve and get better. I say aim to be an anciano,
Yeah,
and not a grumpy old man.
sure.
Learn the language. Learn from people. Because they're different, it doesn't mean they're better or worse than you. They all have something good. They all have something good to learn from. And I think if you absorb as much information from all the cultures, all people, whatever country you're going, when you get older, you're gonna be that anciano. You're gonna be that person.
Yeah.
They learn enough about life that don't care about stupid things.
Is it tough for migrants right now?
Yes, there's bad propaganda for immigrants, but there's a big wave of immigrants, people looking for different things and migrate to other countries that not all of them are good. And if you buy a bag of potatoes at the store, you might have one or two that are bad, but a lot of them are good. But not doesn't mean that the whole bag of potatoes is bad. So, immigration is the same. You get the bad and good and bad. I think again, being an anciano will let you see that not all immigrants are bad.
Sure.
It would also let you see that maybe the government for whatever country that is, doesn't have a good system, and that allows bad immigration to come in.
Sure.
So, I think that's my observation. You have to observe, you have to listen to see what the real problem is.
Sure.
An anciano would never blame your own problems to someone else.
Yeah.
It's easy to look out the window than just look inside what you're doing wrong or what you could do right. If I want to be a victim and be that immigrant in the United States that, that we discriminate or Americans don't like us or whatever, I would never have all the friends that I have right now.
Sure. Yeah.
So I try to be that. One day I want to be that knowledgeable, smart,
the wise
anciano.
old man. The wise old man.
Wise old man. That's the word.
Sure.
A wise old man.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, Claudio. It was very insightful, and I hope that people can appreciate the time you took and learn from your experiences and learn from your words.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for taking the time to interview me, man. Thank you.
My pleasure, man, and happy 4th of July.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
All right.
You. Thanks.
All right, buddy. We'll talk later, man.